It's your girl, Miss Ruby V, and this is the Boom Bap Hour Uncut. We are here with a very, very special guest. Her name is Alysha Price, and if you don't know who she is, you should definitely get to know her. Well, first of all, she's from the great state of Minnesota, Minneapolis to be exact, North High School alumni to be exact. So only great things can come from that. You know what I'm saying? But she's just a dope lady with a great company, CEO of the Price Dynamic, and also known as the co-parent coach. I love it.
Thank you.
Yes. So,
glad to be here.
so tell everybody about what it is that you do when you work with parents.
Yes. So first and foremost, the Price Dynamic co-parenting coach, Alysha Price, and I am all things family and reunification and understanding that parenting across households is possible and extremely important for African-American families, in my personal opinion, because we're always stereotyped or talked down upon for, raising our children in single parent households. And so we're all about, at the Price Dynamic, keeping the family together. And so through co-parenting coaching, we support single parents to learn how to partner in team and work together, whether they've been divorced, never married. We also support those who just find out through positive paternity tests that they're now a parent and they need to establish a relationship with the other parent as well as the child, because the reality is we are in 2021 and there are lots of families that are created in less than an hour. Let's just put that
right.
And then they're stuck left, kind of trying to figure out, now, how do I parent a child whose father or mother I don't necessarily know or have a relationship with? And so we support parents to figure out what it looks like to be a team and to work together so that their children can be successful.
That's great. That's great. I love it. I really do. Because, it's almost like, and you just named a whole variety of different situations.
Yeah.
And a whole lot of different, emotions going on. Yep. It's like a multi-layered cake.
Yes.
Know what I mean?
Big messy cake.
Yeah. So what inspired you to start this business?
Yes. So I was raised in a co-parenting household. My parents were never married. And one of the things that, as I started to kind of unpack who I am and learning more about myself as I became a woman, I always was really intrigued by that being part of my story. I saw growing up that many of the family members and elders that I looked up to weren't married or weren't in a relationship where both were living in the household. And then it became clear to me that that was a part of my family's just kind of makeup, right? And we learned how to love unconditionally, and it was just the norm for me. But that wasn't what I saw on television, right? So I looked up to, watching the Cosby Show, but I didn't see that in my home or in my community. So it was something I aspired to, but I also wanted to understand why that was the norm for me. And then when I became a parent, of course, I thought I'll be married to my son's father and we're going to be together forever. And although our child was planned, we never married. And shortly after becoming parents, we started to have a different relationship. We started to see each other in a different way. We had different expectations, which then led to us being single parents. And so being raised in a single parent household and then creating my own single parent family dynamic, it was just near and dear to me to support others. And I had learned through kind of our obstacles and our struggles how to become successful at co-parenting. I wrote a book on the topic, and I started to just really organically coach people through what it looked like and how to heal after, the dissolve of a relationship. And as that started to pick up and I started to notice, no matter background, family type, everyone understood what it meant for family to break, right? Whether it was divorce or never having been married, um, or just, raising children in separate households. No matter your family dynamic, you understood what that looked like. You'd heard of it, right? If it wasn't in your, immediate family household, you knew family members who had gone through it or friends, right? And so I just thought, well, you know what? Everybody understands family and everybody appreciates or loves or yearns for family in different ways. And so let's help. Let's do some work in that space. And then growing up, as you mentioned, in North Minneapolis, we've been talked about nationally for raising children in single parent households and having crime rates and STD rates at one point that were extremely high, and teen pregnancy that was extremely high. And while we have overcome a lot of those things, there are still lots of traumas that are affecting our households and our families and breaking them apart. And so it just felt like there was no time better than the present to start the price dynamic. And we have officially been in operation with an office and up and running, and not just me doing all the work, for a little under a year and growing rapidly. So there is an immense need for this work. So it's not only a passion for me personally, but professionally, I just saw that there was a major need.
And I definitely was going to say that is like, you really are a great example of finding a need for so many people, that, of course, like I said, I know they could really benefit from this, because it's like, navigating through the co-parenting jungle can be really challenging. And what do you think, like, is the biggest challenge that you run into regarding, two parents who trying to work together but just can't get it right? What would
Yeah.
be the biggest challenge that you see, them dealing with?
I love that you asked that question, because a lot of times people jump straight to, the dating piece. But if there are two parents that are wanting to be co-parents, but they can't quite get it right, what I've noticed is there is a lack of support within community. And what I mean by that is social service support. There are lots of organizations that support women and children or support men, but there are not a lot of community resources and organizations that support the family as a whole. And so when I talk about that, I mean kind of this two-generational approach, where you're able to support not only the children and their well-being, but also supporting the parents to become stable and self-sufficient, so that they're not constantly, in this fragmented or disconnected, disjointed family dynamic. Whether they're in a intimate relationship or not, shouldn't matter, right? But we have a lot of services that are saying, like, they're for single moms and their children. And so then how do we add fathers into that? How do we support a father to still be the head of what his family is, or the family that he created, or to see himself in um, an authority role as it relates to raising and rearing his children? And so I think what we need is more services and supports within community that respect different types of family dynamics and lift up families in the way that we teach them how to be there for each other. We always say it takes a village, but what are we doing to support them to really build their village? I think a lot of social services are designed in a way to help families just enough so that they keep coming back. And what the price dynamic is really wanting to do is to help families learn that they have the skills, they have the ability to support one another, teach them how to effectively communicate with each other, how to set clear boundaries, and how to partner to raise their children and be a team, to really effectively be a team. So I think that that's the biggest thing, is that when people really want to do the work, they want the support, where is it?
Right.
You're going out there and it's like, oh, we can help you and your babies, Well, if there's a man in the household or there's a man around, there's not as much support sometimes. So, and then there's also programs for men that treat them in such a way that their role as a father is to only provide monetary support. Oh, we'll help you find a job. Like that's your role as a dad, but there's so much more to being a father. And then also helping mothers to shift their thinking or change their thinking that dads are not only financial providers. There are so
Exactly.
many other benefits to having a man in the life of their children. So yeah, we need more support in that way.
We do. We have a program in Georgia called the Fatherhood Program, and I think it's kind of just geared toward that. But
Yep,
I don't see. I'm serious. Like really, you're
yep,
one of the first that I've really seen to really just encourage the communication as a family and deal
yep,
with the whole co-parenting communication together, and now I see a lot of questions on like social media and everything, like all these hypothetical questions. I've known you've seen them, like what would you do if
yep,
you had your child over your ex and their girl and they wanted to go take a family photo, or if they wanted to go do this, and like
yes,
a lot of parents, like some is like it's cool, and some like really have a problem with that.
yep,
So like what do you think, like how should parents handle situations like that? Because when you start getting into like blended families, and the boyfriend has a girlfriend, and the mama has a boyfriend, how should you think they should handle those type of situations?
yep. Yes, so good. So one of the things that we really share with our clients at the Price Dynamic is we talk about the dynamic four. And we encourage, being vulnerable, being respectful, open communication, and asking questions that you really want to know the answer to. And so we help them to understand and start to talk through like the importance of setting the tone. So not letting things happen to you. It's so important to plan ahead. So these things can happen. Relationships can happen. How you might feel ahead of time before these things occur, how you would feel about another man or woman being introduced to your children. So instead of waiting for it to happen, initiate conversations about those things. Have those hypothetical conversations with your co-parent before it happens. So you're just not left caught out there looking like, you're crazy when your emotions start speaking for you first, right? So if we don't talk about those things ahead of time and start to plan, then you're caught off guard. You're caught out there and you got yourself looking crazy when your emotions are moving 10 times ahead of your mind, right? And so we really encourage people to start to have those conversations ahead of time and to be clear about what their expectations are. The other thing that's really important is with co-parenting, your emotions can get the best of you when you're still mentally invested in the relationship and looking at the person to meet your needs or expectations. When you get to a place where you can remove yourself and realize that your co-parenting primary goal is to support your child's well-being, then you can shift your thinking around, is that as important? Is you know caring so much about a new mate or somebody, meeting my child or being around my child, is that important to me? Is that affecting me, or is it affecting my child? And then it helps you to start to put things in perspective. So if it's affecting you more than it is your child, if your child happens to like the other person or isn't even concerned about the other person being around or being in a picture, or your child may feel like, why am I left out of that family picture? And you know what I mean? Like, so that
Yeah.
affects them in a negative way. Whereas maybe it's mom or dad that's more in their feelings about seeing their kid in this new family dynamic, then you got to deal with you, right? And so the Price Dynamic helps to put a lot of those things in perspective through one-on-one coaching. We also provide family mediation if there's a need for, families that they're not quite communicating well with each other, and they need, some support in being able to do that and to come to an agreement. But a lot of those types of cases are when people are still really emotionally tied to the outcome,
Mhm.
and not thinking about their child first, but putting their own feelings and emotions first.
Definitely. Well, one thing I would say is that, you know, both of the partners have to be willing,
Oh, yes.
definitely to come together and have a conversation. You might have one party that's coming with, hypothetical questions. The other one is like, don't want to talk or whatever. So,
Yep.
you know, parents, y'all hear that? You both have to come to understanding that you're both willing to actually seek to find a solution. So you dropped some wonderful jewels today. Thank you so much. Now, you said you wrote a book. What's the name of the book?
Yes, the book is called It's Not Complicated. It's a self-help guide for mothers that are navigating the obstacles of co-parenting. I've been through it. There's some really good information and tips in there. Also, lots of personality. So I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna keep it all the way real, and that's part of our philosophy. And I think that's why we've been effective, where we share, lots of times what we've been through. And so the book is, I think, amazing, of course, but a great tool for mothers to just really work through where they're at and how to be an effective co-parent.
Awesome. Well, before we go, is there anybody you want to? Oh, wait a minute. I got to ask you our $1,000,000 question. What?
Uh-oh.
Yes. So every guest that we have on here, because of course this is a hip hop podcast, and we got
Yes.
to ask everybody. So, in your life, what? Okay, you answer either. When did you fall in love with hip hop, or what does hip hop mean to you?
Oh my gosh, I fell in love with hip hop when I heard Bonita Applebum.
Okay. Okay.
That was it. Before, and I will give a little disclaimer though. The first time I remember being so drawn to hip hop was LL Cool J, I'm Bad. When that
Okay.
video came on, there was something about that you just could not ignore that. But then when I fell in love, so that tweaked my interest, right? I knew it was hip hop was there, right? But when
Okay.
Bonita Applebum came, and Tribe Called Quest, and it was this whole new vibe. It could be slower, it could be chill, it could be sexy. I was just like, this is it. And I'm like, yeah, it had to be Bonita Applebum. That's it.
And the thing is, they were so different when they came out that some people
Man,
didn't know how to receive it, but the people who really was looking for something new, it was like, wow,
that was it.
so chill, so
That
cool,
was
so
it.
vibe. Loved it. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Just that era too.
I was dating hip hop until Bonita. Then it was it. That was just like,
I think I was in a committed relationship.
yes, committed, crazy in love. Like, okay, you can't take this away from me.
I know that's right. Yes, I love
Yes,
hearing answer to those questions. That's so dope.
yes, yes.
So
Thank you
cool.
so much for having me. Shout out to you and all that you've been doing. I've been seeing you for years, just keeping it going. And yes, Polar Pride, I love it. And I just so appreciate you for reaching out and having me on the show.
Yes, I love it. And congratulations to you using
Thank
Forbes. Woo,
you. Yes.
woo. Had a lot of things going on. So yes, girl. And I see you always uplift other women. That's what I love
Yes.
about it. I said, well, I definitely need to highlight you because you
Yes.
definitely are doing some great things.
I appreciate you so much.
You're so welcome. Well, again, and how can everybody find your social media, everything?
Yes, The Price Dynamic or Alysha Price. Yep.
Perfect.
The www.thepricedynamic.com is the website. We do coaching virtually, so we're not specific to just supporting within Minneapolis. And the book is also on alyshaprice.com.
Perfect. Well, all right then. Well, again, everyone give it up for Alysha Price, the Price Dynamic. Check her out, definitely. And thank you so much again for coming. You heard it here first. It's the Boom Bap Hour Uncut.